You're listening to the Valley Current.
Hey, Pat. Yeah, you're looking good, man.
How are you, Jack?
Pretty good. I got some new lighting system in.
Who did, you or me?
You did.
Yeah,
I see it.
I'm in Patricia's studio. Big,
Oh,
it's like a $65 million worth of chemicals from China.
wow. Is
It's
that
a joke.
legal? Is that legal?
Dude, I hope so. She's an addict. She buys art supplies, and that's just fine as long as she's not huffing them.
Is
And I
anything
don't have
coming?
any evidence that that's what she's doing.
Is any of it come from the Wuhan facility in
It
China?
all comes from the Wuhan facility.
The
How have you been?
NIH supported Wuhan facility.
Man, don't even get me started.
I thought that
The
book.
problem. The problem is you know all my triggers. Okay, and it's like you would be the worst wife in the world because you would just torment me with my triggers.
No, I would never torment, never torment you, never.
By the way,
But
I
I
got
would
some big
send you,
news.
I would
What?
send you books that I know you would find amusing, as I do often.
Hey, wrong. Your book that you recommended about wealth or something. I forget the
Yeah,
name of abundance or some shit
right,
like that.
right.
I was wrong. I had assumed you're talking about a different book, and so I have not. I haven't circled back around to buy the book and find and get the clarity, but I'll do it later. Also, you you have forced me because I bought that book. I bought RFK's book,
Right.
but it was an audio book. I tried to buy it without joining Audible, but now I finally ended up buying it for $4.50. It hit my Kindle. Turns out I have signed up for Audible, you rat bastard.
Oh no,
And so
you can
now I'm going
can't.
to have a $10 a month charge.
I
And
know that's gonna break you. That's gonna
it's
break
going
you.
to piss me off every single month. I'm going to think of you and
No,
think,
listen. I'm gonna PayPal you $120 and cover your first year.
nah, it's not. The Patricia doesn't let me have any access to cash or money, so it goes on her credit cards.
Well,
And
I
so,
can just send you some cans of sardines or something, right?
well, there you go.
Something like
So,
that.
so, is it now becoming abundantly obvious that this deluge of wealth has thrown America into a full fascist state? Is
Well,
that now not just completely obvious?
yeah, and what's not obvious to me is why people aren't recognizing it,
Well,
right?
there's two reasons. Number one, they're really stupid. And the other
Okay.
reason is they're stupid beyond anything you could even imagine. Okay? To even care for a second what is happening in Ukraine is absolutely idiotic given the scale of the grift and corruption that's happening in America.
Right.
How is it possible? How is it possible, for example, how is it possible that the president of the United States can accept a $400 million jumbo jet from Qatar, then have the military fix it up to the tune of $1 billion, then say to everybody, well, it's not for me, it's gonna go to my library. So he's implying that it's just gonna be like when we transferred the jumbo jet to the Reagan Library in 1973. Well, America retired that jet, and then in 1975, they took that retired jet and made an exhibit. It's in the Reagan Library right now. And so what Trump is proposing is that this new jet is simply just going to be at my library. And so the scale, it's not stupidity. That's not what it is. It's just this thing that people no longer care. We simply, as a community of white people, and it's only white people, I'm just telling you again, the community of white people, we don't care. And I would argue it's because we're getting so goddamn rich. Rich, anything you can. Think about the number really quickly. $100,000 in Tesla in 2018. That index date is $14.25. So $14.25 is worth $3.2 million today in 9 years. Okay, just $3.2 million. It's 1425 divided by 446. That's 3132x. Well, that's not an impressive number, but take 3.2 million and multiply it times 32. Well, what do you get? You get like 80 and 90 million dollars. So in 8 years, I'm going to be having an $80 million conversation with you, and I'm still going to be pissed off at the $10 a month in Audible. And the problem is no one believes that's gonna happen. They don't, and it happened with Nvidia. It happened with Palantir. It happened with Broadcom. I mean, how many more times does this have to happen? And you saw the number last week after the IPO, after the SpaceX IPO. That's going to put Musk at $628 billion. Well, if he's worth 628 in 2028 after the SpaceX IPO, and his compound annual growth rate is roughly 58% a year. Well, you take 628 times 1.58, and all of a sudden you're at 900 and some billion. And then by 2027, you're at 1.4 trillion. So where does this inability to understand that this is happening right before everybody's eyes? And meanwhile, Larry Ellison's going to rush right by him probably. So between Musk and Ellison, they're going to control everything that the world knows. I mean, it is really extraordinary what's happening.
Well, the question is, what does that Trillionaires Club look like? Is it basically 10 people? Is it 100 people?
Well, it doesn't matter. The main thing it is they are creating a white-only world. That's what's happening. Okay, white only, and they say it publicly. They come out and they state it publicly, and that's what's extraordinary. And so I'm very specific when I use the word white only, because that's what it is. When Donald Trump and Elon Musk say we have to do something about this white genocide in South Africa. Wait a minute, what white genocide? Somebody tell me, give me the numbers. What are we talking about? Okay. And I never thought I would be watching something like this happen right in front of me. And that book that you recommended, the Wuhan Lab, I mean, have you read it? Have you finished it?
Yeah,
it's extraordinary.
Well,
I mean, it's absolutely extraordinary. You just, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
The part of it that was really amazing to me, it's towards the very end, is he kind of makes the innuendo that the reason the Chinese are actually focused on this beyond just bioterrorism and military use, he thinks the Chinese are worried that the Earth is going to have overpopulation, and they're going to have to do something about it to get rid of overpopulation, and not just in China. In other words, it's a little bit like the carrying capacity of the planet is about 8 billion people, and we're soon going to be beyond 8 billion people. So this is an easy way, particularly if you're focused on getting rid of older people, to get rid of older people. And you get rid of older people and you kind of get the dead weight off the ship that's otherwise going to sink for all of us. That's kind of what he implies at the very end. And I found that really interesting because, hey, if you're doing a planned society, the way you could argue that the Chinese have been doing for the last whatever number of years, maybe that is part of the overall conception. And maybe that is what's playing out at this point, which is, hey, we have to have an easy way to use an aerosol to take care of a way to get rid of kind of the dead weight. And maybe you could argue that really Trump, when he looks at a bunch of stuff, he just decides, oh, we take away this, take away that. Yeah, let's get rid of some of this dead weight. I mean, it's a pretty nasty way to look at genocide, but it is kind of genocide. That's kind of what it is, right?
So 1.4 million people broadly over 65, broadly over 60 actually died from the pandemic in America.
Right.
The USA did a horrific job managing the pandemic. Unbelievably horrific. China did a shockingly amazing job. It was unbelievable what a fantastic job China did. The narrative we were sold is that, well, you can't trust the Chinese numbers. Well, that means you're stupid again. Why would you not trust the Chinese numbers? Because that implies somehow we can trust Donald Trump. Right. The U.S. Whose numbers would you prefer to trust? Donald Trump, the U.S., or China? I'm going to go with China. Okay, I'm just going to go with China. I mean, it is nothing short of amazing what's happening. And I don't think. Well, I think that that these things that you have been hinting at, this sort of Civil War type thing, I don't necessarily think about them that much. And then all of a sudden, sometimes and now of late, I'm starting to think that I think Jack's kind of right about this one. I think you might be right about, because Derek Chauvin's going to get released. And when he gets released, all of a sudden, black people in America are going to get gunned down on the streets. And you've already got the iteration of Adolf Hitler's brown shirts. Right now, you've got armed soldiers that have masks on, locking people up. What is it? What's the numbers? 430 camps right now. Do you know how many of these camps are? Do you know how many people have been locked up so far? Last number I looked was 280,000. Well, where are they? Have they lost? Do they have any rights whatsoever? Do they have any due process whatsoever? Not only do you not know, you don't know anyone who cares. That's the point. Who do you know that gives a shit? Well, it ain't me. Okay, I'm hands up. I ain't the one. I'm not your little bitch this time. Okay, I don't care because there's nothing I can do about it. And it's just nothing short of extraordinary. And we're watching this meltdown in real time. So the Fed lowers rates. You'll remember this. I don't know if you'll remember this or not, but in January of 2024, in my little missive, I said, America, it looks like America is okay having a convicted felon, a convicted sex offender, more than likely a pedophile rapist, as the president of the United States. Well, you can't say that because that's outside the Overton window. But I was really aggressive making these statements. And I said very clearly, the stocks that I want to own, if we're going to have a full criminal in the White House, what he's going to do is he's going to take Fed funds back to zero. He's not going to take them lower. He's going to take them to zero. Okay. And if rates go to zero, then that means Pat Duke wants to own JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Jefferies, Moody's. I want to own S&P. I want to own the shittiest stocks I can find. I want to own Nvidia. I had a list of 15 names. The amount of wealth those names have created is extraordinary. And so now Donald Trump has literally taken over the Federal Reserve. He owns it now. He's going to take rates to zero, and he's going to do it in May. He's not going to wait around. He's going to do it in May. And so everybody, the media is like, well, I just don't know what rates are going to do next month. We'll have to wait till the next. No, you don't. Rates go to zero. They go to zero in May. Okay. Not only that, nobody's even pushing back on the fact that all the financial data has now been sequestered. We don't get it anymore. They fired all the people who create the data that the bond market, the global financial markets operate off of. You don't get them in America now. So what do you do with that? Sorry, we're just not gonna give you the numbers now. We had some numbers that were bad and we didn't like it at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, BLS or whatever it is, and we fired those guys. So we're not going to get good, bad numbers out of them anymore. I mean, it is the biggest free money pipeline to Pat Duke. Recall, I don't give a shit about anybody else's money. It is the biggest free money pipeline in the history of ever. And don't forget, rule of law is now gone. Nobody goes to jail. If you go to jail, you get a pardon. I mean, look, Bernie Madoff would be spinning in his grave not to be back in the game.
Right. Bernie Madoff must be like, how did I miss out on this?
Oh my God, how did this happen? And I'm participating. I'm in the game. By the way, my mailing list, I've cut it down to 5 people.
Nice.
So I still have one legacy dumbass.
Okay.
But he doesn't get much. And then I got 4 guys who put up with my shit, and you're one of them.
I know. Well, what you have to say is very on point. And the reality is you probably could have 5 million followers, but
you know what? I don't want them. I don't want them, and they don't want me because I'm not interested in clients.
But let me ask you, Pat, do you think that everything you say is actually recognized at this point by the folks on Wall Street, like Jamie Dimon
absolutely.
And all these other folks?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything, of course it is. Absolutely. This is all of it. Why do you think we're buying all of this shit crypto?
Right.
I mean, the crypto, look, one of the most prescient investors ever. I can't believe inventors. I can't believe we've lost them into history and nobody knows who actually invented it. But you cannot have a strip club, a pole dancer without the pole. Somebody had to invent the pole. I don't know who it was. He was a genius. Okay. Right.
Well, it came out of the fire stations, didn't it?
No, I don't know, but whoever brought it to market was somewhere in Florida. That's for sure. Okay. Yeah. But the point I'm making is you have to have something around which these frauds can be created around. And so Lou Ranieri, I forget who he was, I guess it was Solomon Brothers, invented the mortgage-backed securities in the 1970s. And so by 2000 to 2006, they securitized these mortgage-backed securities, and then they tried to do it with student loans. But that entire fraud, that global fraud, used mortgage-backed securities to build this massive mountain of wealth for all of the global banks and bankers and traders. And so I believe, and the way we're positioning our assets right now is I believe that they're now doing it around crypto. And so so the first thing crypto has to happen, you have to be able to lever it somewhere. You have to find some place to be able to add lever. Then you have to be able to securitize it somewhere. And then it has to be able to be used as overnight funding in the repo market to all the banks. And suddenly Goldman Sachs is going to have to take these stablecoin investment grade stable coins that Goldman or JP Morgan or whatever will use and allow these other hedge funds to roll that overnight to fund their hedge funds. And so this is our big idea. And so we are trying to buy the biggest buckets of shit we can possibly own, which is why Bitmine, oh my God, you can't find a worse piece of shit other than Bitmine. Next up is IBIT. I mean, think about it. BlackRock is now sponsoring this crypto ETF.
Right.
And stable coins are rolling out this stable coin idea, and I've just never seen anything like it. And so you take rates to zero. As a matter of fact, rates are going negative. People don't realize rates are going negative. How do you get rates negative? Well, one way you get rates negative is you do shit like oh my God, you take 100% first year depreciation on capital assets. It's just free money. It's free money to Sam Altman, free money to Elon Musk, free money to that entire thing. Because what is a data center? It's full of shit that used to be depreciated over 5 years, and now it's depreciated over 1 year. Full write-off the first year. So you've got nothing but massive free cash. You've got a deluge of free cash flow for the next 5 and 10 years out of these things, because people forget we've entered the age of inference. And so those GPUs are going to last for the next 10 years and 20 years. I mean, it's just the biggest free money grift I've ever seen. I cannot believe I'm living long enough to watch it happen.
You got to try to live to 120, Pat.
Dude, I can't even have a conversation with anyone anymore. I can't do it because everything just feels surreal. It just feels surreal. So, I mean, if it wasn't for guys like you that piss me off on a daily basis, I don't know what I'd do.
Well, let me ask you, when you look at what's happening with these crypto ETFs, you see it as the world is getting sucked into something that ends up eventually becoming a black hole? Do you see it that way at all?
No. It'll absolutely become a black hole. Why else would you do it if you weren't going to make it a black hole? It serves no other purpose other than to extract taxes and rents from poor people who don't understand that, oh my God, they're getting raped one more time. So, yeah, I mean, look, this thing is, look, people forget that those bond traders, these securitized investment, these mortgage-backed securities, that entire pyramid, that superstructure that they built from 2000 up until 2008. I mean, people made billions. Nobody clawed back Jamie Dimon's income from 2000 to 2007. No bond trader had to give his bonuses back. Nobody sold their houses in Greenwich in 2010 after the whole thing went tits up.
No one went to jail either.
No one went to jail because they didn't do anything illegal. That's the thing. They didn't do it. And now Trump has completely, I mean, my God, he gave CZ a pardon. He pardoned CZ. He's pardoned this guy in Lugano, Switzerland, and who's the head of Binance. Well, CZ was Binance. I forget what that index is. The Swiss guy. It's just, they've opened up the gates. They have opened up the gates to grift, and they're not even hiding it. They're just not even hiding it. And so I just wonder how is it people don't, this whole narrative about it's a good investment, it's cheap relative to the bullshit. It's all a criminal enterprise. There is nothing in our world now that is not a criminal enterprise. Nothing. Name it. You name it. You tell me what's not a criminal enterprise. What is JP Morgan other than a criminal enterprise? What is Goldman Sachs other than a criminal enterprise? What is the White House other than a criminal enterprise?
Well, I wonder if that's been true for a while, Pat.
No, but it's at scale now.
Right,
and we get to participate. You and I get to get rich on the back of it.
That's the new part.
It's exciting. Mm-hmm. I mean, I keep trying to tell everybody, look, and I tell them all the time. I say, look, there's this thing called the total federal debt. And all you got to do is pull up a chart from the Federal Reserve Bank of the total federal debt. And if you can't figure out that there's a correlation between the U.S. federal debt and the S&P 500 and your net worth, then you are stupid. You're not kind of stupid. You're the stupidest person on the planet. To ask Pat Duke, hey, Pat, what do you think the market's going to be in 10 years? Well, do I know what the market's going to do in 10 years? Of course I do. I know exactly where it's going to be in 10 years because I'm stupid, but not that stupid. I look at the S&P 500, I look at the U.S. total federal debt, and then I go to the Congressional Budget Office, and they have a line on page 15 where they give you the projections of what the total of the federal deficit held by the public will be in 2035. And so then you look at that number and you correlate the federal debt held by the public, and you see the correlation with the S&P 500 and that number for the last 50 years, and you get the variance, and then they tell you what it's going to be in 2035, and then you look at it and you go, oh, that's what the S&P is going to be. And the reason I know that is because it's right there. And if you can't figure that out, you, dear reader, are stupid beyond measure. Now, I don't know what other word to use for it. The problem is the word stupid is outside the Overton window. It's perfectly reasonable for me to have a conversation with somebody and say, you know, that Jack Russo, he's a really smart guy. But if I thought you were really stupid, what would I say? Well, I wouldn't say anything.
Well, you have to use the word like ignorant of the fact.
No, I wouldn't even say that. I just wouldn't pick up the phone. I would. Oh, that's that Russo guy calling me. He's a dumbass. I'm not going to talk to him. Right. That's how the Overton window works. And so I pull forward those words into my lexicon. I don't take them out on the street. I don't walk down the street and say, oh, you must be a dumbass. No, I don't do that. But I do know if somebody can't divine the correlation between the total federal debt and the S&P 500 when the government tells you what the debt's going to be in 10 years. If you can't make that correlation, you, dear reader, are a dumbass. And I sit in front of people and I talk to them and I show them. And then they say, well, what do you think the stock's going to do? It's like, dude, why would you? Not only do I not know what a stock's going to do, I don't care. Why would I care what a stock's going to? Why would I care about something I know I can't predict in the near term? I can't do that.
Right.
But Trump has made it infinitely easier. Oh my God, he's made it infinitely. I mean, think of all the people you're running into, Jack. I mean, my God, are you just not shocked at how wealthy everybody's getting?
Yeah, I mean, the interesting part is you see Rolls Royces pulling up to Starbucks facilities, and it's like you wait for the chauffeur to come out, and it's like some nanny that has kind of a kid with her, and she's driving the family car, and it's like a Rolls Royce. And you're like, that just doesn't make any sense. She's fetching coffee because it's too much work to make the coffee, right? It's like the nannies are making $150,000 a year. It's pretty shocking, but that's what's going on in California. I can tell you.
Look, it's going on everywhere. And so I have a buddy of mine that works. He works for an old brokerage firm in L.A. right now, and so I've known him for years. This is a good friend. I've known him for years. And so every few years he'll end up in Philly for a day, and I'll go have lunch with him. And so 6 months ago, we were sitting in one of the nicest hotels in Philly. His name's Tim. I said, "Hey, look, are you seeing this phenomenon of this extraordinary wealth everywhere? I mean, you live in L.A. And he's like, he's an Irish guy. He's like, Patty, I'm really not seeing it. I'm really not seeing it. So let me get this straight. You stay in one of those. What is this room costing? $1,500 a night. You got a $4 million house in L.A. Okay, you're here taking your daughter around to see universities. I mean, she ain't looking at Bucks County Community College. Okay.
Right.
You're having a conversation here that's going to at least be $80,000 a year. Oh, and by the way, you're taking August off to go to the Fringe in Scotland. I think you said that, and you're going to Edinburgh. And he starts laughing. He says, "Well, I guess you're kind of right." Yeah, I'm right. He's a shithead broker like I was. I was a shithead broker. I mean, Jesus Christ, I've never seen this much money. And one of the foundational concepts of rich people is that they must deny that they're rich. They just will not admit it. I said, well, The reason you're doing that is because you're just a rich guy. You're a rich white guy. Well, I'm not rich. What do you mean you're not rich? What are you even talking about? You're not rich. It's. I mean, come on. You have the experience now when you go to a restaurant and you sit down and you're there and you're having a nice meal or whatever, and you look at the check and you think you're not articulating it, but in the back of your mind you're thinking, this is $140. I mean, that's like nothing. That's nothing. Okay. And so the point I'm making, like you and I used to have this conversation about Ferraris, right? I'd have my Ferrari index. And so now I'm having the index with things like restaurants and stuff.
Ferraris are going to continue to be on back order probably forever. Right?
No, I don't. Listen, I'm only pointing out that my net worth is exploding. So is yours. Okay. And the relative cost of all of the things I do in my completely pedestrian life is just almost going to zero. Nothing costs any money anymore. Nothing. What am I going to buy? I looked at a Steinway piano today, okay? Because Patricia wants a piano. I'm thinking, so why should I? So Steinway's $109,000, and the sales guy's looking, and I'm thinking to myself, so why should I buy a $20,000 shithole piano, new shitty piano that's going to be worth nothing in 20 years? When I can buy a Steinway that's probably going to grow at least the inflation rate. And then the guy says, we've got 24 months free interest with no interest. You don't have to make a payment for 24 months. So my compound annual growth rate on my assets is roughly 48% a year. Okay, that's what I make. So I'm thinking, okay, so 109,000, future value, 24 months, 109,000 is 280 grand. So this guy delivers a Steinway to my house. I don't have to give him any money other than some little monthly payment with no interest, but that $109,000 stays in my investment portfolio.
Right.
It's $260,000 in 2 years when I have to start making payments or whatever.
Right.
And I've had the piano for 2 years and I got more money than it's a free piano. Right. I don't know what else to say.
Well, the only way you could do better would be to get a deal like that from someone that's got a classic used Steinway, right? Because you get the classic used Steinway and it would definitely go up in value, because there were years where Steinways really became kind of classics. I forget what year it was, but then Steinway changed the company and things kind of changed in terms of the value of their pianos. Now, maybe that's changed again. I remember reading this in business school. It was a Steinway business case. This is obviously many decades ago, may no longer apply. But if I had a magic wand, I'd get you that case, and it would talk about how the classic Steinways from the early 1900s are like classic Ferraris from the early 1900s. So if you can get that same financing deal, which you probably can't, that would be the Steinway to get. It would be like the 1920 or 1921 or whatever year was like the best year for Steinway. They apparently are like fine wines. But look, maybe I'll find that case.
No, listen, I don't care enough. I just don't care enough. It's like, okay, Patricia wants so I mean, here's the logic. She's going to be dead in 20 years. I'm going to be dead in 20 years. Okay, so what are the odds that she's going to take that piano with her when she's dead? Well, we don't know. She may be able to take it.
The key thing is getting it delivered and tuned, and that's probably worth the installment deal that you're getting, because Steinway is going to stand behind that and get it delivered to your living room, presumably, right?
Well, look, it's a metaphor for the amount of wealth that's dropping out of the sky on top of everyone. The last thing Pat Duke needs on his list of shit he's thinking about buying is a goddamn Steinway piano, and yet there I was.
You were actually in the Steinway store in Philadelphia?
I was actually going to say, I'm looking at a Steinway.
That must have been a very interesting conversation to start with them, right?
No, really. I just said, look, my wife wants a piano, so I can buy one that's going to be worth that in 20 years they're going to sell it on eBay for $4.95 if we deliver it.
Well,
I mean, listen. What else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? You own an RV. Why? Okay, because you can.
yeah, because you can, and because it kind of fills this fantasy, right? The fantasy.
Look, of course, of course.
It's a fantasy. It's a fantasy purchase. It's like looking at something and saying that's going to bring happiness, and then you have to deal with all the issues that come up with trying to find a place to park, right? As you're driving.
Look, you have the IV you have the RV because you're an exceedingly rich guy. Okay,
yeah, right.
That's why you have it. Okay, there's two types of people that have RVs: exceedingly poor people or exceedingly rich.
Or exceedingly rich people that expect to become exceedingly poor as a backup. This is the backup.
So the true story here is this true story. So in 2018, he's a client of Zach's right now, but in 2018, and I sent him this email today, okay?
Yeah.
So in 2018, it's a college roommate from University of Texas. And so Pat, I'm gonna be in New York. So we took him out to dinner, and it was sometime in the spring, and I said, hey, David, look, here's what you need to do. Elon Musk just signed a new pay package, and that pay package, right now the targets on that pay package, the pay package was signed January the 19th, 2018. He's got to get the market cap from $60 billion to $650 billion by 2028, 10 years. And so what you can do is you can attach your net worth to Elon Musk's, and if you buy 271 shares of Tesla right now, in 10 years, if Elon Musk gets his $60 billion from getting the market cap to $650 billion, if he gets that pay package, you get your $1 million. What do you think about that? And David said, you know what, that's actually a good idea. Okay. Because the reason it's a good idea is because it wasn't my idea. It's Elon Musk's idea. He came up with the deal. He said, and so, okay, we'll just ride shotgun with Elon. Okay. So he actually hit that target. I'm trying to pull up that email so I can give you the actual numbers, but he actually hit that target on, hang on, right here it is. He actually hit the target in 2000, at the year end of 2021. So he took the market cap in 2018 from 60 billion to 650 billion in 2021. So it was affirmed by the board in 2022. Right. And so David had been pulling cash out of his investment, out of his interactive brokerage account. So he takes a monthly draw, plus I need, hey, Duke, I need 50,000, whatever. There's no way to keep track of what he's doing, okay?
Right.
And what his results are, because he's got NVIDIA, he's got a bunch of other shit in there. The point is, I asked him a week or so ago, I said, hey, how much Tesla do you have right now? So I got 2,201 shares, 2,201 shares. Okay, so suddenly I realized the guy's got $1 million. Okay, well, I'm working on my new growth rates for Tesla into 2033 for the next 8 years. That's kind of how I schedule it, and so I'm raising my CAGR. I was at 48% growth, 48% annual growth rate in the stock, and now I'm taking it to between 55 and 60. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't even give a shit. Okay, but David has $1 million worth of Tesla. That was the important point. The other point that matters is David has one dream and one dream only. Like you had a dream to have an RV. David's dream is to have an apartment in Paris.
Okay.
I mean, because he goes all the time. He's a Francophile. So a couple of weeks ago, I said, "Dude, what do you do? What would it cost? What would your dream apartment in Paris cost?" And he goes down the rabbit hole, shit little studio, whatever. I said, "Dude, stop. What's your dream apartment? What would your dream apartment in Paris cost? $1 million. Okay,
Yeah.
let's say $1 million. So here are the numbers. Okay, here are the numbers. $1 million today at the last growth rate that he experienced. This is what he experienced, the 48% compound annual growth rate. Okay, so 365 days from now, it's going to be $1,480,000. That's how much that $1 million is going to be.
Right.
By year 8, it's going to be $23 million. Okay, so in 2033. His shitty little idea in 2018 is going to be worth $23 million. What the problem is by 2027, he's going to be looking into $3.2 million in 2028. That's a free apartment in Paris. He pulls $450,000 out to make a down payment, and his dream has come true. That's my point.
His dream has come true, and the rates for mortgages in the EU are pretty low.
He's not going to take out a mortgage. He's not going to give him a mortgage. He's an American. He's going to pay his monthly payment out of his interactive brokerage account.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. Okay.
He's going to add it to his. He's just going to add. He's not going to screw with the bank. He's going to take. He's going to pull $450,000 out of his interactive brokerage account. That's only 13% of his NAV. Okay, and so he buys a place and takes out, you're right, some kind of mortgage in Paris. But he's looked into it a little bit. You got to have, it's like, because you're a foreigner, you got to have a bigger down payment or whatever. So
yeah, there's a way to do it.
The point is that his dream has come true. That's my point.
Yeah, I mean,
and somebody obnoxious like me needs to say, David, you shithead. Your dream has come true. It's not like you have to buy it, but you now have an option on the only thing you ever wanted, which is a nice apartment in Paris.
Right.
And that's what's happening to everybody. It happened to you. I mean, come on.
In fact, you would go further than that and say, given the deluge of money, you better get that Paris apartment before the price keeps going up, because
that's my point. It doesn't even matter anymore. I mean, listen, this is a thought experiment, and this is true. Imagine a great uncle died and left you $1 billion cash. What exactly would you do differently? Nothing. I mean, you wouldn't do anything. You wouldn't go buy a place. You'd do nothing different.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a guy that won the lottery recently, and he went around and bought up every piece of land that was adjacent to his residence, and apparently said, hey, I want to own and have a lot of privacy. And then the neighbors got really upset because he was basically controlling all the property in the town, and he was like, yeah, I'm buying up everything. I'm going to buy the whole town. Why don't you sell to me? He basically wants to own his own town. It's like owning his own island, right? It's like Larry Ellison owning part of Hawaii.
It's a stupid idea, and that's what billionaires do. It's a stupid. Yeah. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Look, the only point I'm trying to make, and you've been watching it real time, this deluge of money. It's happening to everybody. It's just happening to everybody. I don't even know what to say. I mean, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, my first thoughts are that people get very jealous of other people doing really well. And there is the bottom, whatever you want to call it, 10%, 20%, 50%, that don't have enough money to bridge like a major car repair. They can't do the $1,000 because the transmission broke. Like, they're stuck. And that's a big part of the U.S. economy, and probably a big part of the world economy. I mean, look, you could go to Laos and basically live like a king on less than $500 a month, literally. You can go to Laos and you can have help. And I have a friend that did it, literally moved himself to Laos, got the ability to live there, and built a $4 million palace for less than $400,000 on the river with a view, with a balcony, with a set of balconies, with a separate home for his maid and chefs and servants and whatnot. The guy is basically able to use a very small Social Security check, relatively speaking, a couple of $1,000s, to successfully run what's in Silicon Valley would be probably a $15 million mansion. In Philadelphia, it'd probably be a $5 million mansion with support staff. And so, it's kind of another version of the same thing. Now, the people that are at the bottom, they see it as the economy's not doing well. And I think that's a big percentage. That's not you. It's not me. It's definitely not the upper 20%. But there are a lot of people that are basically at the bottom and wondering, why are these other people doing so well? And that's the Civil War idea. At some point, it becomes too.
I think it's here. I think we're there. Look, I spent a lot of time thinking about Uber, as you know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's 22 million people. It's 22 million people that make their living driving something.
Right.
And software now drives better than humans. And so that transition is happening. And what exactly are these people going to do for a living? What are they going to do? They're going to do nothing. There's nothing for them to do.
22 million that are just Uber or Lyft
just
or all
driving trucks, driving something.
Okay.
22 driving the school bus, driving something. Okay.
So it's basically more than 10% of the working population in the United States, right?
So it's a big number.
It's a big number.
They are going to, because once a problem is solved, it's solved. It can't be solved better. Okay. It's not possible for a Waymo or a Tesla or a Xiaomi to drive better than a human from Newark to Philadelphia Airport. Can't happen.
Right.
It's not possible. Okay. Just like it's not possible to do a better job adding 2 + 2. It's objective. Okay. It can't happen.
Maybe those people become more like food delivery. Right, because you have to have someone that picks up the food and gets the food to the front door, or you see robots.
I don't know. I don't know, and all I know is I think this time is different, and I think it's coming at us at a rate that is unprecedented. It's and the diffusion of these products. I mean, if you think about. I keep talking about how everybody's going to miss this Tesla trade right now as it transitions to an enterprise software company. Okay. Mm-hmm. They're going to miss it because they think they've got time to see if this FSD and this rollout of Waymo and all these other cars, they think they've got time to get long, and they don't have time to get long. It's already over. And so we're going to wake up in 365 days, and all of a sudden there's going to be robo-taxis everywhere, and everyone's going to look around and say, how did that happen so fast? Well, it happened so fast because all of the infrastructure is in place. There's this thing, I told you before, there's this thing in front of your house right now. It's called a street, okay? It's got a stop sign. Wherever you want to go, that infrastructure is already in place. And they'll turn this thing on and it'll be over with. And those people will not have anywhere to get a job. They will be unemployed forever. Forever. And the problem is not being unemployed. It's being unemployable. And that's where the hopelessness comes in.
Right.
It's the unemployable. The unemployable is the problem. And so all that's going to happen is you and I are going to go to these nice restaurants, and everything we do is going to get cheaper and cheaper and cheaper and less expensive. That's how it's going to happen. I mean, listen, when's the last time you checked into a hotel? So you walk into the hotel, you pull in the parking lot, the guy comes up, he opens the door, gets your car, the valet, and all of a sudden you realize there's no way to tip the guy. Because you don't have any cash. Nobody's carrying any cash anymore. And so, I mean, so you have all of these things that are displacing these people, and there's no way. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do think we are accelerating towards an enormous amount of political unrest. Let me put it that way.
Right.
I don't know and I think one of the reasons that it's not being talked about is because you have to use words that are outside the Overton window. You have to talk about black people and white people. You can't do that. You just can't do it.
Right.
You can't say those words. And so therefore it just gets more and more, God, I don't know what the word is, but when I say, and I use this intentional, 1%, it's not less than 1% of all American billionaires are black people.
Mm-hmm.
This is a race story. That's what it is. It's race. It's rich and poor. There's nothing else. And when you talk about poor, you're talking about black people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when you're talking about, and by poor, I mean no opportunity. DEI means we don't want your kids in our universities. That's what DEI means. Woke is just code for the N word. But he's woke. What does that mean? He likes black people. We can't have that. I mean, think about how disruptive this conversation is, even on your podcast. No one wants to hear this, but they live it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I tell my neighbors every now and then, I live in a community. There's 168 houses in this community. There's 3 black families. 1.7% of the families here are black. I tell my neighbor across the street, really soon we're going to be able to have a vote whether or not this is going to be a white only community. And they look at me like I'm out of my mind. This is, what do you mean? And so everything that we came to believe was the Civil Rights Act and the Civil Rights Movement, it's crumbling around our ears. I mean, you would have never imagined a woman would have lost her right to sovereignty over her body or reproductive rights, and yet she doesn't have any. It's gone. It ain't coming back. It ain't coming back. And so why is it an extreme view to be able to say, I think, and what I can't believe is that the black community, the black friends that I have, they're just like, I don't know. I don't believe. It's like it's happening to you.
Right. Right.
And so then you ask the next question. By the way, if you go to some of the museums in DC and you look at, they're tearing down the exhibits that we have as a society have treasured, the amazing things that the black community have done. Donald Trump and Elon Musk are taking those exhibits down. They are coming down right before our eyes. So who are you going to tell that to? Nobody wants to hear it. Who are you going to tell? You can't even talk about the Wuhan lab. You can't bring up the fact that, there might have been a lab leak. You can't even talk about it.
Yeah.
How did that happen? But you know what? You and I remember this, and you remember it because in 1968, you every evening you looked at TV and there was Walter Cronkite and he was staring right at Jack, and right over his head there was that little board that came up, the number of North Vietnamese killed and the number of Americans killed, and the Americans always won. Right. They always kill more North Vietnamese than they killed us. Right. Know that?
Right.
And then suddenly you realize, hang on a second, they were just making that shit up. They were just literally making that shit up. And it never occurred to me. It just never occurred to me to question Walter Cronkite.
Right.
And now I question everybody except you. I don't question you.
No. You do, because I put you on the Kindle list by mistake by sending you the wrong link. But you might enjoy, while you do your walks, you might enjoy having earphones on. You might enjoy that.
I listen. That book is shocking to me, and the reason it's shocking, and the reason I adore you. Okay, the reason it's shocking is because you have to read that book in isolation. Jack Russo can only read that book by himself. He can't take it out publicly and tell people about it. Hey, I was reading Robert F. Kennedy's book, and immediately people's hair goes on fire. He's a crazy guy. He's insane. So you're boxed out of that book.
Right.
You can't talk about it publicly, okay?
Yeah.
But you can talk about it to me,
right?
And I'll read the book. And
when I said to Lee, I just finished this book by Robert F. Kennedy, and she said, "That guy's a whirlybird. You're reading his book?" I said, "It's really well done. It's really well done."
There's a woman from MIT named Chan, and she wrote a book about this. By the way, I've read Jeremy Farrar's book. Every single book related to the SARS virus, Pat Duke has read. I've read them all. I've read every one of them. Okay.
It was the biggest trade. It was the biggest trade of your life.
I made a fortune.
That was the biggest trade of your life, wasn't it?
I made a fortune. Look, I correlate body counts to net worth.
Right.
The higher the body count, the more money Pat Duke makes.
Right.
So
you're looking for the next one. You're waiting to see if the next one comes out in the next couple of months, right?
I tracked the death count from February 27th was when Russia invaded Ukraine, 2023.
Right.
2022, February 27th. Just all you got to do is just track the S&P from that day.
Right.
Okay, and you see the correlation.
Right.
That's crazy. We got to talk about this again later. Patricia doesn't know that I'm doing this podcast down here. So.
No, I understand. You're gonna give her a big Christmas gift, right?
No.
You're gonna do something really good for her. She's gonna be very happy with you.
I don't think so, Jack. It's not gonna. We do what we can, right?
No, you're doing the right thing. You're doing the right thing. I think your analysis is totally correct. You're going to get a lot of pleasure from that piano. I'm absolutely certain of it. Having been an owner of a Steinway piano, I can tell you the big issue is when you move, it gets very hard to move the piano without dealing with a million different things. So you end up selling the piano, which is sad because I really enjoyed just having that piano. It was a statement. It was such a beautiful thing. So I'm sure you're really going to love it, and she's going to love it.
I don't think it's gonna happen, my friend. So
tell me when you get done. Tell me when you get done with the Wuhan cover up by RFK, because there is a lot more to cover in kind of a separate podcast about what he's saying, and I think there's a lot in it that really needs to be told and distributed and discussed. And it
by you, not me.
Yeah, but it is something that's sort of tragic in a sense that we ended up killing so many people really over this, gain of function testing that, to my way of thinking, probably should have never started and should never have been part of any federal support. And it's shocking to me that Fauci has gotten away with as much as he's gotten away with, if even half of what RFK has to say in that book is accurate. That's for sure.
It's a long story. You don't want to get me started. All right, man.
I'll get you started a different time. Take care, man. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time on The Valley Current.